What's going on, you guys? This is New York Adventurer 1994 here, and it is Thursday, September 22nd, 2022, and I came out to make this video because it is now the 1-year anniversary of us going to Disney in September of 2021. Okay, so it was last year. It was Wednesday, September 22nd, 2021, and we stayed until Wednesday, September 29th, 2021. So I'm gonna go from start to finish. So yeah, it was the start of fall when we went last year. It was like the beginning of autumn, like very early into autumn. And we went to Disney in September 2021. So it started out when we left for JFK Airport at like 4:30 in the morning and got there about like 5 a.m. and our flight was at 8 a.m. and we took a JetBlue flight from JFK to Orlando, and then we landed at like 10:30. And then we took the Disney's Magical Express to Old Key West. Yeah, we were staying at Old Key West for the first time since July 2014. Yeah, it's been 7 years of staying away from there. Yeah, we stayed away from Old Key West for like 7 years. It's because we were mostly interested at staying at the Boardwalk or Beach Club. So we were mostly at the Boardwalk through those years when we were away from Old Key West. That's why we didn't go there since 2014, and we came back in like 2021. Yeah, we were like on the other side, on the opposite side from the lobby. Yeah, there was a lot of bus stops over there, and believe it or not, you actually enter your rooms from the outside. And believe it or not, we actually had a 2-bedroom where we would have a studio room connected with a regular room. Yeah, me and my brother had the studio side, and my brother had the living room area to himself, and my parents had the other bedroom. Yeah, that room was so massive. When me and my brother had the studio room, it felt like we had our own room, like independently. Like we had all our stuff in there and everything. And I was charging my camera batteries on one of the walls in my own room. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't really need much this trip. And it was enough for me to have it all in my room. Okay, so when we got to Old Key West, we checked in and then we went to Epcot. And then we spent a few hours in Epcot. We did some rides. We went through the World Showcase, and then we took a Skyliner to the Riviera, and then we Ubered to Disney Springs because we had dinner reservations at Homecoming, which is a fried chicken place. But when we went to Homecoming, we had like this thunderstorm outside. I mean, we went through some shops in like the main area, and then all of a sudden it started to rain, and we had to take shelter in Homecoming so we don't get drenched. It's a good thing our table was ready when it started raining. We were able to eat just like that. And then for dessert, we had Gideon's, like one of those cookies. Yeah, I had a cookies and cream cookie from Gideon's. It's like one of those bakeries that look like a haunted bakery on the inside. And then once we got our cookies, we went back to the room and our room was ready. And then the next day we went to Magic Kingdom, and stayed for a few hours and rode some rides, but we wound up leaving early because we didn't feel like making it all the way till sundown, so we decided to finish the rest on that Monday. This was Thursday the 23rd right here. So we left at 8 p.m. and when we got back I did my tour around Old Key West, which I have a video of. And then next day was Friday the 24th. And then we went to Hollywood Studios. And we stayed there till it was night. And then that Saturday the 25th, we went to Disney's Animal Kingdom, and then we came back at 5 in the afternoon, and then I went into the pool. And then Sunday 26th we went to Epcot and we stayed until 6 p.m. and then I went back in the pool again. And Monday was another day at Magic Kingdom. I actually got to do Carousel of Progress for the first time. And I took the People Mover for the first time in a while. The People Mover is like that. It's like that moving vehicle that takes you all around Tomorrowland. It's like this little train that takes you all around Tomorrowland. And they tell you all the different attractions Tomorrowland has to offer. Yeah, yeah, and I did Carousel of Progress for the first time. There's a great big beautiful tomorrow. That song that everyone's familiar with, whoever is a fan of Disney. It was that ride. Yeah, it's like one of those rides that people just leave out. But I got a first impression on it that September. And then we stayed for the Happily Ever After fireworks. It was actually their last week of showing that before the 50th anniversary mobbed the whole place. Yeah. And then that Tuesday, our last day in the parks, we went to Hollywood Studios again. And then we left at 5 in the afternoon. Believe it or not, we actually got to ride a new Star Wars ride. The Rise of the Resistance. And we actually rode that new Mickey and Minnie ride that opened up back in 2020 before the lockdown, and we got our first look at it that September trip. Yeah, it was pretty awesome. It was called Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, and that was the ride that replaced the Great Movie Ride, which closed down back in 2017. I remember doing a last ride video on the Great Movie Ride when I went to Disney in 2017. Yeah, it was really hard losing that ride for most Disney people. Yeah, that's a wrap right there. 2017 was a wrap. It was the end of an era for them. It's been there ever since Hollywood Studios first opened up. Hollywood Studios used to be MGM Studios, and then they changed the name by late 2007, and they changed it to Hollywood. Yeah, most of the time I went to Disney, it was mostly Hollywood Studios. It was MGM Studios for the first 2 years I ever gone to Disney. Yeah, that's pretty insane. Yeah, and then Wednesday, September 29th, it was our last day and we were supposed to go home. I took my last walk around Old Key West before leaving. Oh, and by the way, when I returned from Hollywood Studios on the 28th, I got home early enough that I went in the pool for one last time before heading home. And then Wednesday the 29th, I was all packed and ready to go home. I took one last walk around Old Key West before Disney's Tragic Express picked me up. And And yeah, it was my last walk around Old Key West. It was like back to school, back to reality, back to all this stuff. It was like time to go back to Long Island. So the bus picked me up at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It was actually my last ride on Disney Magical Express, believe it or not, because earlier this year, I already told you guys that Disney Magical Express is done. They don't do those buses anymore. They just retired the Magical Express ever since this year started. Yeah, so there's no more Disney's Magical Express. Yeah, I already told you guys that, like, ever since, like, last year, that they were gonna do that. Yeah, I remember every bit of it that I told you guys. That Disney's Magical Express was no more. It was actually a Disney's Cruise Line livery, which actually served for Magical Express. Yeah, it had Disney's Cruise Line painted on it instead of Disney's Magical Express, but that bus was ran by Magical Express to take us to the airport. And we got to the airport 30 minutes later. We had to make 2 stops, so like the Riviera and Caribbean Beach, I think. And we got to the airport. After TSA, we went on the air train to our gate, and we had Burger King for dinner. And we took this little Embraer 190 back to New York. Yeah, it felt cramped for a 2.5-hour flight back to New York. All the way from Orlando. Yeah, that was pretty insane. Yeah, that's kind of a small plane to take you back to New York, but we had to take it, and our flight departed about like 6:45 at night, and we landed about like 9:30 p.m. and then we went to baggage claim, and then we went home. So yeah, we spent 8 days in Disney World. We had a good time. It was actually our first trip since October 2019, because of the lockdown, that we wound up skipping Disney in 2020 because of the you-know-what, and we actually went to Buffalo to see the falls instead. I already told you guys that. So this was actually our first Disney trip since our trip in October of 2019. Yeah, it was almost 2 years that we didn't go to Disney. It was from October 19th to September 2021. That's almost 2 years. We were originally going to go in August, but my grandmother passed away, so we had to postpone it. And we made the right decision, but the wrong decision we made is that we went during the 40-day thing. But the 40th day was actually the day we left Disney. Believe it or not. And then we had the service for the 40th day at the cemetery for my grandmother on October 2nd. And the last thing we did was that I went to the last Mets home game of 2021 on September 30th. Against the Miami Marlins. So I went to a Met game the day after I came home from Disney. So I guess that's it.